I love Toronto. I love the city. I shot The Border here on CBC a number of years ago. It was a little tricky because I was doing something else at the same time. So like the flights, I remember one time flying here and not sleeping a wink from, I was either Vancouver or LA. And when you're doing the overnight and you know you're landing at work and you have a full day, it can be a little bit gross. But we would shoot at the location where it's the ferry, the old ferry that went to Rochester? Yeah. Oh, the sunrises were so gorgeous. It completely made up for getting there at like 4:35 in the morning, or whatever time it was, something like that. But yeah, Toronto's it's a beautiful city, and I felt like I didn't really see it that much before. So just driving around, trying to get around, it's like there's a lot of buildings that I'm like, whoa, what is that? What is that? And it just seemed the scale is so much bigger than Vancouver. I read it and it was so charming and cute and inappropriate and obviously funny. There's all this stuff that I'm like, is it just me, or is this like boundary between son and mother like completely off, and that's part of the charm of the writing. And I, the role like worried me. I'm like, I don't know if I could really do this. It's like, honestly, I'd just been like working and being like super lame, so that I was like, I couldn't even remember the last time that I was drunk. And I was like, should I get drunk just to remember what it was like for this? And I didn't, but maybe I should have. But it was, I just loved the script so much. And then I said yes, and then I showed up and super nervous. The actress who plays my daughter, I don't know what take they ended up using, but there was a little part where she's in the car. We're all in the car driving to the party, I think, and I think I tell her to just like let loose a little, yeah, and like woo, whatever. And it was written that she does it like super quiet, and so she did it that way. And then on one take, she like bone chilling, like blowing your eardrum so loud, but didn't warn anybody. That I had some sort of like a nervous tick, and I tried not to laugh, but it's like you wanted to like completely crack and fall apart because it was so loud in an enclosed car, like in the winter. Then I was like, this girl, love her, crazy, want to book her in something. Sometimes it's good if you can relate to real life, and sometimes not, because I think that we have those parts of us that can do that. But if there is some recognition, you're like, suddenly you remember a party or a certain friend or like a weekend that's very blurry, then those things they're great, And then other times you watch characters that it doesn't remind you of something specific, but you get it. It's nice to have that step where you audition something with somebody, because then you know for sure that they like it. It's instead of just an offer, because then you're just like crossing your fingers and you're like, I hope they like it. And sometimes, especially on an indie, if you're going so fast, they might not have the time, or they might just go, okay, that's what she's doing, let's just go with it, or they'll try to adjust, whatnot. But she had read like Bottled Up, and the descriptions about her, I was like, oh, what is that? I was like, I couldn't even figure it out. I was like, so what does that mean? And I was like, who's like that? I don't even know if I can do this person. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's me. It's like completely me. That's how I've been for the last while. So I was like, oh, I just got to kind of, it's so hard sometimes. It's not like you're just playing yourself, obviously, but there's like a certain way that you can be. And it was almost like too hard to do it, because you just do it so like by rote all the time. And then, of course, she comes on Unhinged, which I hadn't done that, for a long time. So, but it was just super fun. It is about finding yourself, and in unconventional ways, because I think the relationship between the mother and son is very unconventional. She has her own reasons why she didn't want him to go to public school, and then yet, like, as much as you try to shield people from something for whatever reason it is, it's like, we are all these like unique creatures that are curious, and so if something's blocked off, you usually eventually at least want to know what's behind it, whether or not you're going to engage with it or not. And what I did like about his character is that he was sometimes bold / like I don't know, stupid. You're like, what are you doing? Like, I know that I would never do some of those things, because I would just be too insecure. Like, especially that young, because he's supposed to be pitched in high school. But then you love people for doing that. I do. I love people that will go out of their way and just wear stuff that most people would think is cringe-worthy, and I'm just like, you go, sister. It's like, you fucking rock those white spandex tights, and I'm going to defend your right to do it. And people are like, oh yeah, right. And I go, no, just back off. Like I feel like we need more space and freedom in this world. And with so much social media, you have so many messages every day. And I don't always think that it's the message just to be like, it's kind of tricky to describe because at first glance, it would look like, oh, you can do whatever you want. You can contour your face like this. You can like get implants if you want to like shape, and you have the whole, all these opportunities at your fingertips if you want to. But it's like, and I'm going to completely generalize, right? But the way that and this was also, a while ago, but the way that I grew up and the way that I remember things, like growing up in a Canadian city, it wasn't so hardcore like the jocks and the potheads and the goth. It was just like, sure, you had a little bit of that, yeah. But it wasn't so extreme. We certainly didn't have prom king and queen. So yeah, there are people that were more popular for sure, but it wasn't this insane caste system that you couldn't sort of move between. Whereas I feel like it might seem that you have more freedom to do things, but I feel like the message a lot of times is you have to fit into a category. So what about the fluidity of going in between them? And what about just being kind of normal or awkward? It's like, that's a really important part of being a teenager and in your 20s and kind of like forever. And in some ways, that's why I love like children, because it's like, wow, you're just in the most awkward position. Are you doing like you could never do that as an adult? Or like, when was the last time I ever saw somebody in that position ever? Like, I don't know if I ever had. So, and they're so unabashed at that age. So I think we're almost limiting people from just the fluidity of like going from one type to another. And it's not like you have to be a chameleon. It's like, no, you can just rest and chill out in these different pockets. And so that way the film, in a way, is like him going from one pocket and sort of experimenting with the others and doing things that I'd be like, no, don't do it. But at the same time, like saying like, yes, go do it. And then you see that other people, like the girl that he's after, she sometimes responds in ways that I wouldn't expect. And then you remember, like, everyone's still quite young in the film. And so they're not maybe so set in their ways. And I think that is the beauty in a lot of it. It's exciting to have people that know that they want to tell stories and be a part of film, or whatever medium that they choose to do so early on. And I think there can be some advantages to having social media early, and I think generally no. There's a lot of other things that come with it that do take a lot of responsibility that I don't think that it's been well thought out for children or teenagers. It's like some pretty brutal stuff. But that being said, some of the other things that are good is like if you do expose them to, if you have that with taking care of people and like a sense of who you are, what your values are, allowing them to kind of explore who they are uniquely compared to other people. And then what is it that you want to do? What stories do you want to tell? And so if they start that young, it's like there's a different ease or a different freedom that they have, and a different sense of either vitality or a fresh new outlook that they haven't been set in a certain way, like, oh, now you've gone through the studio system and like we're gonna hit this and do that, and it's like there's something great about that too. And it's not that the younger set will want to do that, and that they won't. I totally believe that they would if they want to, but there is something still untamed or still free and new, and it's kind of like spring. There's a new life coming in, and that's great. It'll be interesting to see how this affects the landscape of cinema.